winter fragrances. I see a lot of YouTubers from Europe and the American South talking about winter fragrances. You don't know winter. I'm a real Canadian. That's the one thing that Canadians know. We know winter, and we know winter fragrances. Last winter, all but a handful of days, I went for a long walk. I test out my winter fragrances really well. Most of the guys talking about winter fragrances on YouTube probably never went outside wearing them. This is one thing I actually do know. There are some fragrances on here that perform really well in cold weather. I know because I've tested them. Welcome to Sense of Style, by the way. I'm Stuart. Fragrance number 1. This is Guerlain L'Homme Ideal. I have tried the EDP. It's fantastic. And I really like that cherry note. It's great. I've only tried it once, but it's good. But man, oh man, this guy is underrated when it comes to going outside for a walk in the winter. This is a great winter fragrance. In fact, I went for a walk. It's -5 out right now. I went for a walk wearing this earlier. This really warms you up. It's a leather fragrance, but it has tonka and almond, but there's just so much sweetness here. It's very sweet and very warming. It really warms you up. It smells great the colder it is. The funny thing about Guerlain, though, I hear people talk about it being a niche house. This particular fragrance is not a niche fragrance. It's still a really good fragrance. It's a good designer. It's just not niche. In 1994, LVMH bought out the Guerlain family after they had pretty much been a niche fragrance house for 166 years. And then they started putting out fragrances like this. You know, it's perfectly fine, but these fragrances are not for the Queen of France, Spain, and Britain like the old Guerlain fragrances were. These fragrances are for dudes like me that freeze their butt off in the winter. Fragrance number 2, this is Tiziana Terenzi Orion. A very, very underrated fragrance, a fresh fragrance for the winter, specifically designed for it, because this is an extrait de parfum, and it's also very, very similar to a Ventus. I'm not going to call it a clone because this is a very expensive fragrance on its own, but think of a sort of woody Aventus with a lot of birch. That's what you're getting here. It smells very much like it, but it's a thick and sticky version of it. It'll last 12 hours on my skin, and I don't do fresh fragrances well. This is a great fragrance for cool weather if you want to smell fresh. The thing about this guy, though, is all those Aventus guys will talk endlessly about which batch they have and this and that. This is a fantastic, better version, I think, of Aventus. At least it's certainly a lot stronger. You hear nothing about it because Tiziana Terenzi is a tiny house. They don't have the marketing of Creed. It was started in 1968. Like, the family were a bunch of artisans. They made scented candles for the church. Anyway, this guy put a 50 square foot room in his house, and he started to make artisanal fragrances, and he named the fragrance company after his daughter, who is currently the designer, and then his son became the major perfumer. And yeah, so it's a small operation, but they make great fragrances. No, they're not sponsoring this video. They have no idea who I am. But yeah, I think this house is good, and this particular fragrance, really good. Fragrance number 3, this is Dior Homme Intense, and I think if you're looking for a really nice iris fragrance for really cold weather, and iris is kind of a subtle note, this is the way to go. Yes, the Parfum has a ton of iris, but it also has a ton of leather. It is more of an in-your-face fragrance. This has subtlety and yet power, a really good combination. And, well, we all know about this guy. We all know this is really good. This thing stands up in cold weather, though. All the little bit of a dent that this made, it's almost always made when it's super cold out, and I still want to get my iris fix because this holds up. Fragrance number 4, this is Stronger With You. This is the Eau de Toilette, and this is from Emporio Armani. Not Giorgio Armani, Emporio Armani, and I'll get to that in a second. But this is another one that works great in cold weather, which is weird because this is an EDT, and yet it's super strong. Like Stronger With You, I think this entire line would do really well in winter. If the EDT is this good, the other guys must be amazing. Anyway, this is a hazelnut fragrance with a lot of vanilla. There are some herbal notes in it, but it has a fruity accord. I get fruitiness from this. Either way, it's very, very powerful fragrance. The thing about Emporio Armani, though, is it tries to do a different thing than Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani, think the Code line, the Armani Code line. That line is more of their classic high-end line for innovation and doing things a little bit differently. Whereas this line, the Emporio line, this is meant to be modern and trendy. So these guys, this line is not going to be super innovative. And I really think that whole fruity sweet combo that's in so many fragrances now, that was just them doing their version of it. So Emporio Armani, Giorgio Armani, it does make a difference. They're both high end on the Armani line. They have some other fragrance lines that are more inexpensive, but yeah, they do different things. And yeah, this one does good in winter. Fragrance number 5, this is Burberry London. Not so much a super cold weather fragrance. This is more of a holiday fragrance, at least according to Sephora. I thought it was just Fragcom that thought this smelled like Christmas. Apparently not. I was reading Sephora's website and they called it a holiday, politically correct holiday fragrance. This has 3 notes, cinnamon, a Popanax, and tobacco that are a little spicy and sweet, and the combined together to give it a little bit of like Christmas cake or gingerbread. Definitely a little bit of a holiday feel. So I'm thinking this year, and I'm actually going to do it between like, December 20th and January 1st. I'm going to be wearing this a lot more because it does smell very festive. It smells like Christmas. Fragrance number 6, this is Polo Red Intense. And this is one of those fragrances where the notes are reflected in the colors. The black, that's meant to be coffee, and the red is meant to be cranberry. And this is a lovely scent. There's a little bit of amber sweetness in here too, but it smells super nice. Now, you can still actually get the intense version. Not a crazy price. You can get 75 mils for 110. I don't know if Polo Red is something that is a niche like where you're going to pay prices like that. But there are people devoted to this. They tend to buy Polo Red and not the intense version, which I think is a mistake. I don't know if I'd wear Polo Red in the winter, even though that coffee note is a good note for the winter. But yeah, Polo Red Intense, I've worn this in the winter before. It stands up really well. It's got good projection. And yeah, I love this. Number 7, this is Parfum de Marly's Herod. This is the only fragrance where I've ever gotten a compliment from over 6 feet away. The person that gave me the compliment was not close to me. I swear to God, they were like 7, 8, 10 feet away. I'm like, wow, that's really, yeah, I really did. But this to me is my favorite sweet tobacco. It's got that Parfum de Marly vanilla, and then it's got a little bit of cinnamon. And then the tobacco is just fantastic. It's done so well. It's very, very smooth. Now, it is expensive, but man, it deserves to be. It deserves to be. This is beast mode. This is smooth. This has everything. Yeah, my favorite sweet tobacco. Speaking of sweet, sweet is always good in cold weather. This is a great sweet oud fragrance. This is Supremacy in Oud, and this is a clone of Initio's Oud for Greatness, except Afnan didn't lie about the note breakdown in this, whereas I think Initio did. Afnan added sort of generic sweet notes. I look at Initio's note breakdown and go, where the hell's the sweetness coming from? These guys in this fragrance, no BS. They add the sweet notes, and it's a super sweet oud. It's a really good introductory oud because the sweetness kind of makes the oud, go over a little bit easy. It's like taking some medicine, with a little bit of honey. But yeah, it's a great fragrance, great performance, especially projection. Oh, yeah, I love this. And yeah, it's one of Afnan's better releases. Anyway, it's a winter wonderland out there. Take it from me, true blue Canadian, that these are all good fragrances to wear when it's super cold out. Thanks for watching.